think it takes a little bit of courage because you just have to get out there and just do it and just try it. I think you just need to persist and learn, and you take that lesson, and then the next time you won't do that. The other guy that was there before me, he's like, yeah, if it ever does this, just pull this relay and reset the unit. But I didn't remember which relay it was. And I pulled out the stage for the first compressor, the relay that turns on the compressor, and I shut out the entire unit. So the entire building got hot.
Hola, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reliable HVACR podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed, like, comment. If you're listening to this over on the podcast, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever it is, it's a bit available on all platforms. Please leave us a 5-star review to help us get out to more people. I love doing this because it is good conversations with good people. Anybody is welcome. If you guys ever want to be a guest on this show, if you guys listen or watch any of my content, go ahead and message me. Come on, tell your story. That's what it's about. If there's any sponsors that want to reach out and support the show, go ahead and also reach out to me. My email's posted everywhere. ReliableHVACR956@gmail.com is how you can get a hold of me. Speaking of sponsors, today's episode is brought to you by my favorite CRM, Jobber. If you guys want to use a software that helps us boost our business, whether it's invoicing, quoting, scheduling, keeping track of your team, price lists, our maintenance plan is in there. Now they help you with marketing and running campaigns through emails, all that stuff. And you can talk to your customer through texting in the customer hub. They can request work. You never have to pick up the phone. They can actually request work online through text. You can tell them that you're on the way. All the stuff that you would expect from a professional CRM. If you guys want a free trial and discount, go to getjobber.com/reliable HVACR. Also, VETO Pro Pack, the best tool bags in the game. I know people tell me the first thing is always the price. Let me tell you, other brands that I used to get at the supply house never lasted me. So in that short amount of time, I was buying several of those bags when I could just buy one VETO Pro Pack tool bag. And if you want to go check them out, go to vetopropack.com. You can also get them at any supply house or place that you buy equipment. They usually have VETO Pro Pack, and they just came out with the MB3 Blackout, which I am super excited for because I actually had a hand in some major design in that bag, and I hope to continue to work with that. But I use the MB3 Blackout as my favorite. I also use the Wheelers. I use a lot of their tote bags. I even have something in my van that just holds bottles and miscellaneous things, and it's made by them too. They have a bag for every scenario, so you won't be disappointed. Go check out VETO Pro Pack. And if you go to their website, go to the customer profile. You'll find me in there. You can learn a little bit more about me, and you'll probably see a lot of these YouTubers and people on Instagram that you might watch in that section. And when you're ready to level up your business, you can join BOSCH Home Comfort Pro. When you sign up, you get exclusive deals, priority technical support, and free marketing and advertising resources. By choosing BOSCH, you can represent one of the largest HVAC brands in the market with over 100 years of industry expertise. Join today at boschhomecomfort.us/HCPro. And a big thanks to all the sponsors that make this show possible and moving forward. You'll hear more from Local HQ Marketing, NAVIEN, and DIVERSITECH throughout the show. And don't forget that I have another podcast/live stream every Thursday night, the HVAC Nights. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. It's me, Jake, and Curtis. You might know them already. And we just talk shop about our work week and life stuff. It gets crazy. It gets uncensored. It's a fun time. So come check us out live every Thursday on YouTube. And it's available on all podcast platforms later that week. If you ever want to keep up to date with anything that I use, whether it's tool recommendations, Camel City Mill socks have been really great for me, and the Huxley work pants. I have discounts for a lot of these things that I use. You can find them in my website, reliablehvacr.net. So, like I said, tool link, recommendations, discounts. I got merch there. You can request stickers. I will have my arm sleeves up for sale soon. So, make sure to keep an eye out there. And if you just remember to go to the website, you'll always keep up to date with everything. On today's episode, we have Sascha Hinz. Hopefully, I said that right. A German tech who ended up in Texas. So he knows the heat that we go through here, and he is doing HVAC and trying to help others. He mentions the community that he started, and it's like a where you can ask questions and get real answers and real help. So if you guys are interested in that or anything that he does, I will leave all his information in the description. It was a fun time talking to him and seeing his journey into the States, and then doing essentially what what he loves now is the HVAC industry. So enjoy the episode. Oh, you're okay. So where are you from originally? Because I see in your bio it says German tech, and then I saw you
Yes.
talking about Texas heat.
Oh, yes. Well, originally I'm from Germany, but I already lived in the US for since 2009. So like, what is that, 15 years or something? So
Oh, okay, yeah. How old were you when you came over?
21.
So yeah, did you come with
Yeah.
family or on your own?
No, I came here on my own. I was working for a nonprofit organization in Florida,
Okay.
and their headquarters is down there. So I really wanted to work for them, and I had tried a bunch of stuff in Germany, and I was like, okay, let's go to America because it's like the big dream, you know how you see all in the Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
So to come to America and live your dream, and yeah, I really like it here. So then I just
So
stayed.
when you came for that nonprofit, is that anything to do with the trades or is that something else?
Yes, that's really where I started in the trades. Yeah.
Is that HVAC specific?
No, I mean that's like more getting into how I got into the trade. So if you want
Okay.
to go over that, we can get into that.
Yeah,
But I
did you get into the trades in Germany or over here?
no here. I had a company, like I started my own company when I was like 19 back in Germany, but that was landscaping. So I was doing
Oh,
landscaping. It was also like work in the trades. I guess landscaping is part of the trades, but not like
yeah,
air conditioning or
landscaping
anything.
and maybe handyman stuff. Is that what you mean? Or
Yeah, exactly. I knew a bunch of people, and some of them they had jobs, and they wanted me to go with them, and that's how I started learning the landscaping stuff.
oh, okay.
Um, yeah, and then it kind of evolved, and I learned more, and then I was like, okay, I can take this on my own, and I mean, it was good. I liked it. It's outside, so because I like working outside, and it's hard work, which I enjoy. And I was young, so
Yeah, well,
it's easier. It's
if
easier
you're
when you're
doing
young. So
if you're doing landscaping, you're outside the entire time. I can imagine.
yeah, but then it was also you had off season because you don't do it in the winter because in
Yeah.
Germany we actually have the four seasons, and you can't really do landscaping when the ground is like all frozen and you have snow. So it was seasonal work more.
And then you went to Florida. Did you work over there too?
Yes, I didn't do landscaping. Um, the first is like I kind of did like a little bit of manager type of stuff for this organization, but then
Oh,
I said
okay.
that's not really what I enjoy, and then I hashed out a deal with them so I can get more into the trades. And honestly, I wanted to become an electrician,
Oh,
which
really?
is it's really awful, but
Not too
yeah,
many
they had
people.
a
Not too many
what.
people will admit that. But yeah.
Yes, I know. I know. Shame on me.
Yeah.
But I found the right one, so I found the right trade. So came to my senses.
So then you went for HVAC. But were you doing that in Florida, or was that until you came to Texas?
I don't know how much it's known, but I come from like a facility services background.
Oh yeah.
So basically, I was working for this nonprofit, and then I said, okay, I want to work more like in the trades, but it didn't really have like renovations or like building or construction type of job. So they said, okay, we have something there. We can do like facility services,
Yeah.
but you need to do everything. So then I said, okay, I wanted to learn more about electricity. So they gave me like some crash courses in electricity, plumbing, and air conditioning. And it was actually pretty cool because they had train trades professionals on site, like working for the company.
Mhm.
So I would do like I don't know what it's called. It's like kind of like just study up on the stuff. They had like some courses that they provided. So I got like the kind of the technical background.
Yeah.
And then I was able to do an apprenticeship with each of the trade professionals. So I learned electrical from a trade professional, plumbing, and air conditioning.
A little bit of
And
everything.
then, yeah, so I learned a little bit of everything. And then it was actually, I was in charge of like 3 buildings. And it was everything from, they had a restaurant, they had sort of like a hotel. So it was
Mhm.
like smaller guest rooms. To they had a large office building. So they had, and it was, all the buildings were built in different time periods. So they had one in the 80s, one in the 90s, and one in the
Oh.
2000s. So I had literally everything from like small chillers and cooling towers
Yeah.
and chilled water systems to water source heat pumps to large RTUs that then fed the building with VAVs.
And you got to work on all that stuff?
I worked on everything. I mean,
Oh.
the chillers, there were train chillers, so we had a lot of the service stuff outsourced. But I would
Mhm.
always like just ask all the people that came in to service. I would always ask them a bunch of stuff. So that also helped me a lot too.
Yeah, it's good to get a little bit of everything. And then like you got to see a lot of the bigger stuff too. So that's really cool. This podcast is presented by Local. Local works tirelessly to help HVAC contractors rank higher on Google. They use an attack methodology to make sure that contractors dominate their local service areas and increase their market share and generate higher revenue. Reach out to Local at localhq.com/reliable. Mention me or the Reliable HVACR podcast, and you'll get 2 months of SEO for free. Why did you move to Texas? Or did you come
That's
from Florida to Texas?
Yeah, but that was just last year. That was because family, like my wife got pregnant, and then
Okay.
she has family here, and so
Oh,
she wanted to move closer to her family, which makes sense because my family is in Germany, so we didn't want to move all the way back. So we
yeah.
wanted to stay in the States. So we
Uh,
said we're gonna move closer
and
here. So,
you're in Austin, right?
yeah, in Austin. Yeah.
How is well, even coming from Germany, like how is it like for you? Like did you get already used to the heat and everything?
No, I thought Florida heat was bad, but man, I mean, I think Austin here is worse. Like Florida is more humid, but here it's hotter, so it like really kind of dries you out.
Oh,
It-
just wait,
It's it's really
wait.
rough.
If you ever come down south, I'm about 6 hours south of Austin because I'm in
Okay,
South Texas.
so
We
it's
get,
almost by the border or what?
yeah, I'm by the Mexico border. We used to be able to walk across and everything, but uh,
Okay.
you get that heat that you're talking about and the humidity like you would get in
That's
Florida. So
horrible.
it's like both. Everybody
That's
calls
that's
it.
why you like kitchen, so you can stay inside or what?
I love like the last couple of weeks I've been getting nothing but like walk-in coolers, little reach-in coolers, and I get a little bit of a break from the rooftop. I do a lot of fast food chains, chicken places, a lot of
Yeah. So my
and
my
they
question there is
each have
like,
their own custom like stuff.
yeah, I imagine, but like, how is it like? Because what I really don't like about kitchen is all the grease and stuff. So if you say you do all the refrigeration stuff, but then you have restaurants and they probably have deep fryers and other stuff and griddles, like doesn't that like all get onto your equipment? And then like
Oh,
I
yeah.
just I just hate it. It's like it gets all over your tools, it gets over your hand. Even if you wear gloves, it gets everywhere.
See,
So
oh yeah,
there's no
my
even the point.
gloves are trash every time, but
Yeah.
uh we used to work with more of these restaurants that did that where it was like the freezers and coolers and the fryers were all like sandwiched
They were
together, right?
they were all right next to each
Yeah,
other.
they're all lined up, and that's where you get the dirtiest. That's where you get
Yeah.
full of grease. The machines themselves. I remember when I first got into it, I did a lot of like the Denny's and IHOPs and stuff like that. It's all fried food
I imagine that's the
and
worst.
tight kitchens and like I said, everything up against each other. So when I went up, because all the reach-in coolers and freezers had the condensers on top, right? So I would go in, put my
Yeah.
ladder, and without even thinking, I would lay my arm on the unit, and then I would be like literally like
Full of
super glued to
grease.
it. Yeah, I would be glued to it because I'm like
Oh, okay.
trying to rip
Because
my
yeah,
arm back, and it's full of grease because there's layers and
that's
layers of
so
it.
nasty.
But
Yeah.
now we do
Yeah.
mostly fast food chains where it's like an open kitchen, right? So like
Okay.
all the fryers are on one side with the hooded vents and everything, and then the coolers and freezers, sometimes I have them in the front, so it's kind of
Hmm.
away from it. The walk-in boxes are in the back. It's not a big deal. So I work in more like fast food open kitchen type deals now.
Okay. So it's
Whereas,
better.
yeah, it's better before,
Yeah.
because before it was tight kitchens. So like somebody like my dad or my uncle that do the cooking equipment, and they go through boots, pants, uniforms like crazy because of all the grease.
Yeah, I did hot side like where I was working before.
Oh,
I also
really?
did hot side. Yeah, we had like convection ovens and griddles and like the gas stuff. Um, but I personally really don't like it mainly because of the grease. So, but I mean,
It's hard.
you gotta do what you gotta do. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because
I'm
some
I
people
think I'm like 80% outside or on the roof. I'm mostly
yeah.
like rooftops, mostly like it's mostly rooftops. Some split systems like 5-ton split systems and stuff, and then sometimes refrigeration. Like we do Family Dollar and Dollar Tree, so they have all
Hmm.
their like the whole row of like reaching coolers. Some of
Yeah,
them have
those
also
are those are
walk-ins, but
nice. Those are nice, but are they a pain to work on? Because I always tell people like the smaller the equipment is, the harder it is. Because like I would love to work on a walk-in box or even be on a rooftop on a condensing unit versus like trying to fit myself into a little space in a one of those coolers inside and stuff.
it really depends on the setup. Like some of the, it also depends if they like if the equipment is down and they have to remove all the
Oh
merchandise,
yeah.
it's really easy. But if it's like sort of off, it's like it goes up and down. It goes like to 40, but then it keeps going down, and they leave it in, but they call you,
Yeah.
and then you have to remove all the merchandise or get them to do it, which hardly ever happens. Then it gets kind of rough. But it also depends. Like some of them, they have it on top, all the
Okay.
evap fans and stuff, and their evaporators on top, which I think is easier to reach for me because I'm taller. But then if you go on the bottom, and then also like usually
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah,
drinks in
yeah.
there, so they have like spilled stuff, and then it's
Oh, it
like all the
gets
sugar stuff, so it gets like sticky and
the
nasty.
drinks. Yeah.
So that's what I don't like, but it's okay.
Well,
I mean,
you've done okay. So do you still work in any kitchens, like reaching coolers, or
yeah,
not
we have
much?
reach-in coolers, yeah, but not kitchens.
No.
Like I
Okay.
get sometimes I get we have one or two restaurants that
Or
we take care of,
or
but
it
yeah,
happens in the walk-in boxes too. But like when they spill food and it just sits there forever or ends up in the drain lines or whatever, those are the nastiest.
yeah. I actually had a call like recently where somebody spilled milk in the drain, and it went down into the drain pan, and it went into the pump, like the condensate pump,
Oh,
which then
okay.
the condensate pump died because it all curdled up and it killed the condensate pump. So,
No, because
anyways,
like when I used to work on the coolers, because I just started, I had a mom and pop shop or restaurant call me, and
yeah.
they've called me for a few more
Oh, okay.
things, and like it's the prep coolers, the little small true coolers. You lift the lid open. There's like the veggies and the condiments and everything.
Oh, the prep table. So
The prep table. So like
that's yeah.
those can get nasty too because stuff falls behind the little panel and it just ends up where the drain goes and everything. So like those I've worked on again recently. I haven't worked on one in a long time. So like taking it apart and you never know what food you find behind there. So that's something I
Yeah,
used to
and
work
prep
on.
tables are usually two R 290, no? What
Well,
they're
now they are because the ones that I've worked on, they've all been 134A. So
okay.
that's what I was used to. Uh, one of the fast food chains that I have right now, they've been buying the new ones, and of course they're R290. So I've had to tell them, they got leaking evaporators. I feel like that's always a common issue with
Yeah,
those.
yeah. I think
And
it's because of like the food, no? Because it's like the food is acidic and then it
oh yeah,
circulates across and it eats
yes,
away at the metal faster.
if it's
That's kind
like
of what I figured, but
well like those like if they beat them up enough and it's been over the warranty period, they just buy a new one. It's usually cheaper just to buy a new one.
yeah.
Because I have another one that I'm working on, and she's like, it only cost me like a couple grand to buy another one. Like, do you think it's worth replacing? Because it needs like the compressor and like a few other things. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, probably better off buying like with how much stuff costs right now. Like, it's so cheap to buy. Like, if it's a small enough cooler they
Yeah,
just
I
buy.
think like a small reach-in, or I mean a small prep table, I think is like 1 to 3 Gs or something.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
even if you just need to install some kind of access port to check your pressures for, because the R290 doesn't have the access port, just to access it is like gonna cost them money. So
oh, I
like
know.
if you already know that they are having a leak, like is it even worth if it's not under warranty anymore? Like it's kind of sad because I work for a service company, so
Yeah.
we do mostly service. We don't do that much swap outs, so we always try to get the equipment up and running. But sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Like if you have like a 20-year-old unit and you have two compressors, one compressor is dead and it's running on R22, then like
Oh yeah,
why would you invest
absolutely.
money in it? Like no, like there's people that still do it, but for me it's like why would you do it? Like
I guess it depends because like people that are like I had somebody from New York that was here, and getting a crane in downtown New York or whatever, like that's where you have an
okay,
issue, and they're gonna repair it. I've heard the same thing in California because it's hard to get a permit out there, stuff like that.
okay, that
In
makes sense.
Texas, it's super easy to me. I think
Yeah,
like
yeah, it's easy. You just take it down and then
we
that's it.
we get a crane out there the same day and we'll get it down. Like it's not a big deal.
Yeah,
So I'm the same way. We're service, like that's our thing. We repair. I always want to fix it, but I had to kind of balance out like, oh, if it's gonna, like you said, if it's gonna cost you like a new compressor, maybe two new compressors, whatever it is, and then a
and then
motor.
condenser fan or something.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, like you want to get a new one with warranty and just not even worry about it anymore. Like, you gotta figure it out because I used to like those prep tables. I used to fix them all the time, and
yeah,
those were the
yeah.
cap tube coolers, right? So a lot of the times they just plug up, you replace the cap tube. That was it, or like something simple. They were never hard to fix. But I remember I did a lot of those because we had a chain here that had like I don't know like 20 stores. Like I would work on so many. Each one had like three or four of them, right?
Yeah.
That was a lot of my calls, and now it's just cheaper to buy a new one.
That's so
It's not
crazy.
even worth it. Yeah. Today's episode is also brought to you by NAVIEN. If you haven't seen it yet, NAVIEN has entered the HVAC space in a big way with the new NPF hydro furnace. This hydronic forced air furnace delivers industry-leading variable capacity operation from 15 to 100% in both natural and propane configurations. You can learn more at navieninc.com. I also want to thank DIVERSITECH. They simplify your work. They have everything a contractor needs to complete a job. That goes from equipment mounting, condensate, management, tools, maintenance chemicals, electrical components, indoor air quality, and much more. They have different branches under the same umbrella. More than likely, you're already using some of their products or tools. So go check out diversitech.com, and it's your one-stop shop for everything HVAC. But
Yeah. But is your company, because you have a family-owned company, no?
yeah, my dad started it.
Okay, and that's focusing on service, I assume.
We well, when he started it, it was a kitchen because he doesn't do any HVAC, right? So it's all commercial kitchen for him.
Yeah.
Cooking equipment, hot side, and his
Oh,
thing was
he started with hot side, or
yeah,
he's.
because he
Oh, okay.
he was an electrician and he went into food service. He went to
Okay.
go look for something better. Went into food service and started it as a hot side company or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And then his whole thing was that other companies go in to check the coolers, the freezers, the AC, whatever it is, and there's competition, right? So
Yeah.
my parents came to me and they're like, why don't, because I've always been interested in fixing things, electronics. I was going to go for electrical engineering when I was trying to find something to do.
Yeah.
And they were like, why don't you just get into the HVAC, side of it? And then basically we partnered up because he does that. I take care of the other side. And we're like an all-in-one company that kind of helps us when people are looking because like we can take care of anything basically in the
Yeah.
kitchen.
You're like a whole solution for a customer, so they don't have to like find this company for that and that company for that. That's awesome.
Yeah, because around here, like a lot of companies have popped up, and it's always interesting to see like who sticks around, right? Because I'm
I
like,
think
oh,
that's the hardest part, though, sticking
yeah,
around.
yeah. I'm like, yeah, okay. I see a new van there, and then you notice another van over here, but Sometimes they because we made the same mistake. You tried to you spend too much money, right? They have
Yeah.
brand new vans, brand new vans. I'm like, you could have just worked out of a truck for the first year, whatever it is. But it's
Yeah, put
always
like one sign or something. Just put your name so somebody knows who you
yeah, because
are.
we
You don't have to like
started
make it all fancy and new and so,
in an old pickup truck my dad bought off Craigslist or something,
yeah.
and I remember on the weekends waking up doing these side jobs first, and then we got into building up the business and all that, getting our vans.
I think that's kind of like nowadays everybody just wants to do everything like super quick and they don't really like
No,
appreciate
they want it like
the
they want
work
the
or like the slow because that's how you also learn because like you do jobs on the side you learn what your customer wants, you know how to talk to them, like you build up your own trust and your own confidence because you're going out as like a new venture. Like how you're gonna just start like put everything
dude.
on a credit card, buy like new trucks, new everything, new equipment, like you're spending like what
Yeah,
50 G's or something,
yeah,
100
we
G's like
were really bad in the beginning, and then we
yeah.
hired a few guys, and it was too soon. And
Yeah, I heard that on one of your podcasts where you said like you hired and then you had to let them go. Was that
we didn't
because you didn't have work during the winter time or what?
just in general because it was like when we started, we only had maybe two accounts. One of them was like a fast food chain, and the other
Mm-hmm.
one was a hospital. And we were getting a bunch of work, and then you always think you need help, right? Because you get overwhelmed. And I had one of my
Yeah.
guests, Josh from HVAC Home Guide. I forget how to say his channel, but he told me you need to evaluate your company in the slow season or whatever your slow season is.
Mm. Yeah,
And that
exactly.
instead of like when you're in the busy season and you're like, oh, I need so many help, I need so many workers, I need so many guys and this and that. Like how are you gonna, you know, pay them when it slows down? So that's the whole thing. Like right
Yeah,
now
exactly.
what we're trying to do is the whole maintenance thing, right? So I have maintenance agreements that are coming in like, pretty regularly, and each one of those places has like 20 stores, so it's a good start. Like I have
Mm.
two right now set up. Even the hospital that we have right now, they wanted to do ice machine maintenance, which I hate doing maintenance in general. I hate doing ice machine maintenance, right?
Especially,
But
I feel like it's the worst because it takes the longest.
it
Because you cannot
does.
just do it. You have to like remove all of the ice. Like especially if you're cleaning the evaporator coil, you have
Dude,
to remove all the ice. No, like
they want it,
how
yes,
else do you do it?
and they want it quarterly. So I have to do this four times
Oh,
a year. And they gave us their whole hospital, which is like 20 ice machines. I was like,
yeah,
damn,
that was my
but
next
it's
question. I was gonna ask, is it a hospital? You said
yeah,
quarterly, and I was like, is it a hospital? So,
but it's good money. I mean, I'm not gonna say no,
I'm
right?
sure, yeah.
And why are you asking if it's a hospital? Because nobody else does
Nobody else
maintenance.
does it
Yeah,
quarterly.
yeah.
I mean, especially the coil cleaning. I mean, the cleaning in the ice machines. I think we
Nobody.
have one account that does it like twice a year, but usually everybody just does it like yearly.
Well, here nobody even wants to do it. I have
Oh, really? Oh,
fast
okay.
food chains that don't do ice machine maintenance, right? And they're busy every day. Like those places get pretty packed, and I'm like, your ice machines are filthy, right? Uh, some of them don't even want to put water filters on them, and like there's a whole,
Oh, that's horrible. Yeah,
and then
I
they
had an
break
ice
down.
machine the other day where it wasn't working, and all it was the condenser was dirty. Like it was in a hot kitchen, and then the condenser was full of grease and like dust and something. So there was
Yeah,
no like heat transfer. And we
we
cleaned the
have
coil, and then it was working. Like
we have
it's
we
like
have
so simple
we have two. One is like I said, a fried chicken place. The other one's a
yeah.
pizza shop. So all
With the flour.
both of them use a lot of flour.
Yeah.
So I always tell my guys, like, when you go out there and it's something close to the kitchen, check the condenser first because it's probably like caked with flour.
It's yeah, 80% of the times, yeah. Yeah, when
And
I was
then
doing facility services, I actually used to install like the Dacron like pre-filters. Like I cut them up and
oh
just put
yeah,
them
yeah.
on there, and that helped. But you have to replace them like every 2 or 3 weeks. So
Well,
unless you're on site, then it
you
doesn't
gotta
work. So,
remember or remind you because
yeah, you have to. Yeah,
they'll do it. I've seen places that do it themselves too. They'll put those little filters on, and I think on even some of them they write change every month or whatever. But like I get
yeah,
there and they're plugged up. Uh, but yeah, we do a lot of. Well, my dad started that, and then I got into it that way. So I went to school for it and everything. I learned what I could, and then just got thrown into the field.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes.
Do you have your own
So yeah.
a business or do you work somewhere?
No, I'm W2. I'm employed. So
Oh, okay.
I'm thinking about it in the future, but right now I'm still working
Yeah.
employed. So yeah.
But we were talking about Texas earlier. Like, it's actually been nice right now because I'm used to like 110. Right now, it's been like 93, and I feel that's very comfortable for like Texas.
Yeah, I saw it on the news the other day where they were counting last year's um, days over 105, and I think it
Okay.
was like 25 or something, and then this year's and it was like 3, and I was like,
Yeah.
holy shit, what am I in for next year? I was like, I can hardly manage this year. So
I was just saying that too because I was like, last year felt a whole lot worse. Like this year, I mean, it's hot every year. I mean, it's whatever. But I was like, last year was pretty brutal. Like,
yeah.
I remember being out there and it's like, well, I can't even take this anymore. Like, you got to be careful. And you do commercial too. You have a lot of these white vinyl roofs, freaking
Oh yeah,
blinding.
reflective, and then
Yeah.
some of them have the walls, so you don't even get the wind because they have
Oh
like
yeah.
6 foot high walls to prevent you like, or I don't know, to make it more aesthetically pleasing. I don't know why they're there for, but
I have no
prevent you
idea,
from
but
falling down, I guess. But
you
yeah, it
go up,
makes it really hot.
if it feels nice, and then you get up there and you find those high walls, and then
And
you
the vinyl roof.
start sweating like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, we our supervisors actually tell us to take breaks if we feel like dehydrated or something. Go down, like cool down, like go in the van, go in the store, like whatever. So I actually appreciate that because I wasn't aware. I mean, I come from Florida, but that's where I did most of my AC stuff before, and
Hmm.
that's already pretty hot and humid. But I guess because I was on site, I was able to just like do a few units and then go back inside and then go back outside and kind of schedule it where it's not in the hottest part of the day. But now if you're like on a service call and it's 1 o'clock and they call you and you're there by 2, then it's the hottest part of the day. You're not
Oh
gonna
yeah.
wait for a few hours to get on the roof. So that's
No,
different.
and it's funny that you kind of say all that because I've had people even from Austin or Houston that come down here and they're like,
Hmm.
man, it's really hot down here because of the humidity. And I've heard people try to say that Florida is hot too, and I'm like, okay, you guys get the same conditions, but now you're saying that you feel like it's hotter in Texas.
I That's just me. That's just me. But
Hot is hot. It's just hot, you know.
yeah, exactly. I wanted to ask like what do you enjoy like about the trade? Because for me, what I think what I enjoy most and what keeps me going is that I don't think any two calls is ever the same, and it kind of always keeps you on your toes and you're always learning. And I don't know if it's like for everyone, but if you have kind of an adventurous spirit or you want to learn and you're curious by nature, I think it's like a perfect trade for you. And and I think you asked me a question or something like before we went on this call, but
Yeah.
where you asked like what made me want to get into it or something.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's kind of where I gravitated to it because on my last job where I was doing the facility services, I got to see like electrical, plumbing, air conditioning. I would also do all the outside contractor watch where you have like elevators and fire safety and all of that stuff. And air conditioning is like, even if you have the same unit where you get the same call, it might be a totally different problem, which kind of fascinated me because you just go there and you're assuming, okay, this is what I need to fix. And you get there and it's something totally different. So I just wondered how that's for you as well.
That's why, and I think it's all good. Like the whole HVAC trade is exactly like what you are saying there. I just personally like commercial refrigeration because I feel like I get very different things on call to call, right? So
Okay.
right now it's a little different because right now like we're more established. We have like the same customers all the time. Like I kind of see sometimes the same thing or like at least the same unit and brand over and over.
How
But
often do you get to the same site? Sorry for interrupting you a bit.
uh sometimes I can go pretty often. Like I just did a couple of videos recently because and it depends on the time because right or a little while ago there was inspections. I get some of these places
Mm,
have inspections every now and then, right?
yeah.
So like
Yeah.
those end up calling like a ton at that time. And then some
Yes.
locations some locations that that have been putting off work will call a ton, so I'll be there like all week sometimes.
Oh,
Um,
well,
but
okay.
it just depends because like recently I had one, and like you said, like it could be a different problem every time you go out. Like I went to the same location, I don't know if it was 2 days in a row or like there was a day in between, but I went out to fix an AC, but that's because they had 4 units in line right on the roof.
Mm,
Two of
okay.
them, two of the middle ones are really close together, so they were like, "Oh, like our AC is not working." I went and fixed one. It had a couple of leaks in the evaporator. I patched it up. I'm pretty confident, patching up that
Okay.
kind of stuff. I wasn't as confident when I started, but now I feel pretty good about it. And then I left. I went to go do my other calls, and then I got a call back. Hey, it's hot again. I was like, crap, right? So I have that feeling of like, oh my god, like it didn't work. I screwed up something, right?
Okay.
But I'm like, man, like it should not have leaked out that quickly. That the leaks were super small. Even if I missed one or my patch leaked or whatever. So I
I
went
mean, I
back.
mean, if you fix the leak and you pressure test and you evacuate,
Yeah, I
I
did.
mean, once you charge
So
it up, you should be good, no? So unless you have a
yeah,
new leak
as
coming up,
long
so
as long as you do everything that you're supposed to do, you should not have any issues. So like I went back and they also do this to me. They also say like, oh, it's the same unit or it's the same area. Like,
it's like it's a recall, but it's actually not a recall.
yeah, like this is not. So I went up on the
Okay.
roof and then like the next unit happened to have like a condenser fan give out, right? So
Mm,
then
okay.
I went and fixed that and then trying to turn it, you replace the bad part and then you try to turn it back on and nothing comes on, right? So then I was like, okay,
I hate when it happens.
I
It's
was like,
so annoying.
what's going on, right? Well, the
Yeah.
pressure control just died, I guess, when it tripped, right? So it opened, it never closed back.
Are we
So
talking
after,
about RTUs or we're talking about
oh, I'm
walk-ins?
sorry, yeah, RTU. I went to go
Oh,
check the
okay.
AC unit, right? I fixed one with a leak,
Yeah.
and then the next one had the fan motor give out, and at some point that high pressure must have tripped and never closed. So then
Okay.
I had to go a little bit further and change that out. But like you said, it's always something different. Like
Yeah.
I go to these calls and I used to get so worried before, right? Like, oh my god, like I'll be driving over there
You
and I'm like,
drive there, you're trying to figure out what the problem is.
like,
And you're like, I hope I have all the parts in the truck.
yeah. And I used to worry so much, and it's like after a
Yeah.
while, it's never the same problem. You're always gonna find something different. You will find those little quirks or like those little things like this brand always has this issue or whatever it is. You do
Yeah.
have those, but like for the most part, bunch of different problems, different kinds of equipment. I like refrigeration what I do because I'll see like an ice machine one day, an ice cream machine another day. Those are very interesting to work on. The
Hmm.
hospital, that's what I was going to bring up earlier. The hospital, when you were talking about reaching coolers and stuff and taking them apart and how like you deal
Yeah.
with those dollar store ones.
Yeah.
Those are pretty simple. I worked on another one recently where it's like that.
They are.
It's
Yeah.
a true, and then you just if you need to take the fan off, it's really simple.
The top
Uh,
ones are just, they come down and then you
yeah,
just have all the fans there. Yeah, I
yeah,
like
because
those. They're pretty
I
nice.
had to replace the controller on it, so like I just had to pull it down a little bit, replace the controller, put it back, and then yeah, I was done. Now in the hospital cooler, they have like very unique stuff. Like I don't know if you've ever worked in one. So
No, but
there's
I imagine.
there's a stand up reaching cooler, right? And it's similar to like those Trues that it's just a one door reaching cooler, but
Okay.
it has these what do you call it, shelves where they put the trays in and they put like the jellos or whatever it is that they're giving the patients to eat. So those are such a pain. It can fit like I don't know 10 to 15 of those trays, right? So that gets packed. So when I need them to
Okay.
remove it, and like you said, they don't always do it. It takes a lot. If I get there and I haven't done it, it takes a long time to get all that out, right?
I
And like
know.
taking out tray by tray by tray, and then you got to remove the shelving. So the shelves on either
You have to
side,
like kind of like
lift,
twist them or something, or like,
yeah, lift them up, take them out, lift the other one, take it out.
yeah.
Uh, some of them are different. Some of them are on the bottom, the evaporator and the fan and everything. You got to take all that apart. The one I was working on recently was on the top. I have no access to anything until I bring all that panel down, right? And then I can see everything. And then if I need, like, I had to adjust the TXV on this, and it was a pain because I had to take everything down, adjust it, put everything back together so I can check temp. And
Yeah.
then it wasn't quite right. I had to bring everything back down again, adjust it.
That
You know,
sucks. I know, but refrigeration is like that. I think Like sometimes on refrigeration, like if you spend like a whole day just for one unit, it's not even uncommon because you have to
Yeah.
wait till it like reaches temperature. Like especially when you're charging, like you can put factory charge, but sometimes that's like it's like off, and then you have to like for example for walk-in freezers specifically, you have to get them down to temperature, and then when you have the product in there, you need to adjust the charge, based on the temperature and the subcoolant stuff, no?
Yeah, I mean the reach and cooler stuff is easy. It's usually just ounces of Freon or whatever it is.
Yeah, I know
But
that's little, but if you have like condensers on the roof,
no,
and
I
then you
know.
have like several heads inside on like a big walk-in, like that
Yeah,
can take a while.
so like on the smaller stuff that I work on, it's all like whatever the charge is. The only difficult thing is, like I said, there's a couple that come to mind where it's what those prep coolers, like we talked about the true ones, the
Hmm.
really long prep coolers, and I got to change the evaporator that runs inside across the back, right? It has these three little doors usually, that sometimes I have more. Three little doors, and you gotta get your shoulders in, fit in there, lay on your back,
Yeah.
get your feet off the ground because you're like, that it's not flat
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
floor.
exactly. Because yeah, because the unit is a little bit up off the ground.
Figure out
Yeah,
how to cut the line set and do all that. I've done a handful of those. I don't like those.
yeah,
As far as like the walk-in coolers and freezers, you gotta there is like a certain amount that I know they usually take, and then after that, yeah, you gotta check your sight glass, check your charge, superheat all that just to make sure you're within range of the charge. Sometimes I only run 2 calls. Sometimes I run 4 calls, right, on those kinds of
mm,
equipment, because
yeah,
it's not just the motor, it's not just capacitor, whatever it is. Because guys on the residential side would be like, "Oh, I run like 10 calls a day or whatever." I'm like, like
yeah. That's it's kind of crazy for me. Like I run maybe 1 to 4, like,
yeah,
but
and
I
that's what
also
I.
have like a lot of driving because we drive. I mean, sometimes I drive like 2 hours to a call. So
Oh well, Texas, yeah, because
yeah,
I'm the midpoint, so like I run about our service area is like 2 hours each way. So like
yeah, exactly.
sometimes I'll
Same
run
here. Yeah,
2 hours to drive somewhere and you know work on something, and then like I got to drive back. I've had it happen a couple of times where I get unlucky and it's like I gotta go 2 hours east to work on something, and then
and
that
then you need to
that
go 2 hours west.
the other 2 hours west, right? So then it's like, okay, 4 hours to get to that one, and then I gotta get 2 hours to come home. I've had that happen a
Yeah,
few times. I'm
I
like,
think
what are the
the furthest I ever
odds?
went, I think, was Corpus Christi, which is I think like 3 hours from Austin, 3.5 hours, something like that. So, I mean, I never really want to blame anyone, but sometimes on the calls that I go to, I see stuff where I'm like, I'm just shaking my head. But that is actually one of the reasons why I started posting stuff on Instagram, and why I now made my school community to teach like newer technicians. Because when I started out, I had like, I mean, I started in facility services, and I kind of like slowly went into it, and I was lucky because I had like the same units over and over, so I could just trial and error, and and then I had a problem, and I could just go on YouTube or like call up somebody and ask questions. But it's really like you have like the field is expanding, but
Yeah.
then the amount of technicians is declining, and then all the new people that are coming on, they just get thrown in the field. And then as far as I hear from newer techs, even the trade schools are not as good as they used to be. Like one guy, he told me like most of the stuff that they're doing is just watch YouTube videos, and you're like, why do
I've
you
heard
pay for
that.
school? Like you're supposed to go there to get hands-on experience with stuff, and then they finish school and they have their cert or the certification or whatever, but then
Yeah.
you send them in the field and they don't know how to put what they learned into actually the unit and the field, so
So like, how long
that's
have you been doing that? I mean, I looked on your profile, and I heard you talking
yeah.
about something that you guys offer. How long have you been doing that?
The Instagram or the community.
Like the community, you called it a school or something.
Yeah, I mean, Skool is basically it's a website. It's Skool, and it's
Hmm.
just a platform where you can have a community and you can have a classroom. So it combines being able to ask questions and having a classroom. So right now I'm building out courses, and I'm starting very basic on like like what is a filter dryer, what is refrigerant, like what is a indoor fan
Have
motor.
you been doing that for a while, or how long have you been doing that? Like
No,
offering
I
those?
mean my community, I started it like 2 months ago.
Oh, okay, okay.
the Skool community. But the Instagram account I started back in February, I think,
Okay.
January, February. So like I think like half a year or something. But what really got me thinking about it is because I was like, well, I've been doing HVAC for 10 years. So even though I don't know everything and I'm learning new stuff every day, I probably know more than somebody that's just starting out and looking at a unit for the first time. So like basic things like if the belt is slipping, it can trip out a VFD because
Hmm.
it's slipping and it's trying to get a certain frequency, but it's not hitting that, so it causes an error code. But it's like something so basic and simple for me that
Yeah.
but a new technician wouldn't necessarily think about it. They see a fault code on a VFD and they're like, okay, what is this? So then I just started to make like simple short videos on. I
Hmm.
started out with maintenance, like how do you do coil cleaning and
Yeah.
like what to look for, how do you change a filter, and then I mean it's just been evolving
Because
from there.
yeah, because like I mean, somebody just starting, they don't know anything really, right? And
Yes.
a lot of these guys, because I mean, I see the comments on mine too. Like they're new, they're starting out, and they're looking to these people like on Instagram or the YouTube videos to learn more.
Yeah.
And so that online school that you're offering, um, I mean that's a good thing to do because like I've always been interested, more so recently, in like how to get uh a place, because you said I think that's where you can like talk to people, get questions answered, and that type of deal too. Because
Yeah.
I've wondered about that too. Because I'm like, I mean, there's I think the closest thing is like Facebook groups, but like a lot of those you get torn apart by people
I
in the
know.
comments. Like it's not very helpful. I'm like,
I
man, there
know.
has to be something else. So you got something going on there with the community deal, so you can answer questions and stuff like that. That's
Yeah,
always cool.
that was also one of the reasons why I wanted to start like something that's moderated, because also in the forums and the Facebook groups that I found, like I see people asking questions and then you have an experienced technician that just rips them apart and you're like,
Yeah.
bro, like I mean he doesn't know, like you started out somewhere, no? Like how did you learn? So that's also why I wanted to make it easier for new technicians.
Yeah, and
So yeah.
I just had a conversation with somebody that does a lot of like mentoring at his job, right? Like he takes all the guys that come in and teaches them.
Okay.
He's like you'd be surprised how many of them don't even know the major components of the refrigeration cycle. And I'm like, really? Like I never thought
Yeah.
about it like that. And he's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it's
like
actually it's yeah. I hear
because
that a lot. Yeah.
you ask them and they're like, like they don't know. And I'm like, damn. So like a
Yeah.
lot of
And
these
that,
guys are getting thrown in without knowing. They get thrown into the field because they get in. And I understand we need bodies, we need people in the trade, but like we need to kind of train them up first and then throw them out.
yeah, because if you just throw them out and they just mess up the customer system, like what? How does that reflect on your company?
Yeah,
Like, I mean, maybe some people don't care, but in the long run,
some companies don't. Yeah,
you're damaging your own reputation and you're making your company fail because you have unexperienced techs and people that don't know what they're doing. So,
yeah. I've had guys that work for us, and like some of them already had experience and all that, but I get so mad at the bad habits too. That's another
well,
thing. And I'm like, no, like this
just
is.
bypass all the safeties and it's good. It runs
Oh
now.
man, I've seen that too many times, and I'm like,
So
no,
so often.
this is my company. This is my name on this. I like, please do what we tell you to do, or like I'll try and teach them why that was bad, or why do it a different way.
Mm.
And there's all that there, and I mean I never thought about it, like just teaching people the basics, teaching people like you said, you're starting out with the basics. That's a good start, like, and then work your way up, because like a lot of the times, and I tell people that want to post just like on Instagram or any type of content, like show everything, because like there's, I think even you said right now that you started out with maintenance stuff. Like there's people that you a lot of guys start out as maintenance techs, right? Or doing filter changing or whatever it is.
PMs, yeah, filter change and PMs is how most people start out. Yeah.
And then you get these calls doing those, or like you see something and like you could, go a little bit further with it if you knew, like you said, like the whole trip belt slipping and all that. These are little
Yeah.
things that like a new tech won't know, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen plenty of things like over time where I come up to you and I'm like, oh, it's you can hear it, you can listen to it, you can know sometimes right away when you walk up to something like, oh, it's this or that.
Yeah, I had a call like yesterday. No, not yesterday. Today is Sunday. Um, so we had a call on Friday, um, where I forgot what it was, but I think I had to reset the unit or something. And then I was by the unit and it came on and I just hear the compressor grinding, like trying to
Yeah.
start. And I just turned it off right away. And I like, oh, that's a capacitor. And for sure, like I checked the capacitor, it was dead. So it's like things you like over the years, you just hear certain sounds or you hear certain things or you see something
Yeah.
and you're like instantly, no, okay, that's not.
So like doing this now for a while, like when do you think like it clicked for you? Like when did you get comfortable doing this trade? Because like I think we touched on it earlier. Like you're not ever comfortable when you start. Like it took me forever to even know how to talk to customers because like I was like I just want to do my job. I just want to get in and out. Like there's a whole thing and like what we talked about, like driving to the place. I was always like, oh my god, what is this? You always think of something like super major that's gonna happen, and you get there and it's just like a safety or something.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be very frank. I don't know if I ever had that point where I'm like, I just know everything.
And when I'm working with somebody, I'm like, let's just, obviously do your basics and all that. But like, I was like, if we screw it up, we can fix it. I'm like, it's whatever. Like, just try, right? At least.
Yeah,
And I try to show everything on my channel. I try
yeah.
not to cut anything out. I had a video a couple years ago where I put a damn 280 motor and it was a 460 unit. And I was like, oh shit. I didn't pay attention because I had never seen a 460 unit,
System.
right?
Oh, okay.
And I was like, and that's the only customer I have that has 460, which is weird. And I always tell people like that's with me or anything like that. Like if you make it worse, I'll fix it. It's whatever. Just try.
Yeah, I think I think it takes a little bit of courage because you just have to get out there and just do it and just try it. And I think you have to take the knowledge that you have and just put it, take it into your hands, just try it, do it. But I think one of the key moments in my HVAC journey was like a long, long time ago, and I wasn't like really familiar with the stuff that I was working on, and I just knew that there was one unit, like it was one of the main units for that building. It was, I think it was like a 25-ton RTU or something like it was feeding the whole building. And the other guy that was there before me, he's like, yeah, if it ever does this, just pull this relay and reset the unit. But I
Mm.
didn't remember which relay it was, and I basically it was 6 stages, and I pulled out the stage for the first compressor, the relay that turns on the compressor, and I
Yeah.
shut out the entire unit, so the entire building got hot. And it literally, because it was running on a building automation system, and then you have all the delays in there. So I plugged it back in, but then the unit shut down, like all the vanes closed. So you have
Yeah.
it closing and then opening, and I think it took like almost like half an hour just to get back up and running. And then the entire
Damn.
building got hot, and it was hot the entire day because it couldn't keep up. Um, and then it was this like moment where I'm like, okay, I really need to understand what I'm doing. Like I can't be afraid of working on it, but I need to understand what I'm doing.
Hmm.
And that's really where I started to think about, okay, like I have this knowledge that I know, but if I don't understand something on the unit that I'm working on, I need to look at the manual, I need to look at the schematics, I really need to know what I'm doing because it can negatively affect all the tenants of the building. And it sounds maybe scary, but even that, I mean, it was hot for one day and the next day you're good again. So even that, like as time progresses, people don't really think about that, and you just move on. And I think you just need to persist and
Yeah.
learn, and really don't take it as like a personal, like beat yourself up too much. Like obviously you messed it up, okay, but you just move on. Life goes on, and you learn something, and you take that lesson, and then the next time you won't do that. So
Or I hope you won't do it again.
I hope so.
That's, I tell people, I'm like, you make mistakes, just don't make them again. Like you learn from it. But yeah, man, like that's what you remember the most is the mistakes, like the big mess ups, and then like you figure it out or you get it going. Like those are the main things that you remember. And
Yeah, I think in between you're coasting along and you're just
yeah,
doing what you already know. But once you figure something out and it actually makes it work, you remember that. And when you mess it up, yeah,
yeah, and then trust your trust what you know too, because like I when I started, I second guessed everything. I was like and I went to school for it. Like I knew it, I knew how
yeah,
everything worked. But I would work on something. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like I didn't know if this was bad or that was bad. I've had I had to condemn compressors and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And then like after a while, you get your confidence. Like it just takes some time.
did you ever condemn a compressor that turned out to be good actually?
I've been on job sites where we've done that as a group. Like I'm with other
Okay.
guys and we've done it. And I'm like, dude, it didn't need the damn compressor.
Yes.
And it was
I,
something,
I, I, I'm gonna be honest. I think I did it like once or twice, but
yeah. And
that's how you. I mean, that's how you learn. That
oh
it's
yeah.
part of. I think it's part of the learning process. It's not like I encourage it, and I think you shouldn't do it. But
No,
I
but like
mean,
I think I had one not too long ago that somebody was working for us and they replaced the compressor, but luckily it was under warranty, so it didn't matter too much.
oh,
But
okay,
we
that's good.
got it sent out to us, put it back in, and then I can't remember right now what it was, but I was not there for the diagnosis. I went to go help put it in. When we
Hmm.
put it in, I'm like, dude, did you check this? Did you see this? I can't remember what it was. It was a safety or relay or something. And I'm like, "Oh, dude, this was your whole problem the whole time." And I had
Well,
a
at least you took care of it, and when you replaced the compressor,
yeah.
the unit was running
I was
afterwards.
like,
So
you got warranty now. You're good. Like, just
yeah,
call us if it messes up. I'm like,
yeah. It's
man,
like the other day I had a call where they wanted us to look at the duct detectors, and they said that none of the units was running because the duct detectors weren't working. And I'm like, that's like such a strange call. I'm
yeah,
like, I mean, like depending how they're wired, if they have their own fire alarm controls or not. But they were wired directly to the unit, so they were cutting out the low voltage if there was a smoke alarm.
oh yeah,
And I think they had 6 units, and I think 4 of them didn't have power. But then I'm like, I look at the duct detectors. I'm like, that's not a problem with the duct detector. That's a problem with your low voltage on the unit. So
hmm
2 of them had blown fuses. The other one, for some reason, somebody had just disconnected. And then the third one, the unit was off, which was the compressor wasn't starting. So you're like, you get a call for the duct detector is not working, but you thinking about it because you're a technician, you're thinking through it. You're like, that doesn't make sense. Like that your problem is not the duct detector. Your problem is something else. So,
yeah. I mean, I've had that happen too. It's like, you got to go out there with an open mind and just kind of look at everything, because even if the customer tells you what it is, it's usually not that.
how
Um,
do you how do you usually, or like how do you look up stuff? Like when you just Google it, or what? Like if you have a question on equipment, you just look at the manual,
I'll look at the
or what are you like
manual.
your resources?
I'll look at the manual and like a parts breakdown.
Yeah,
I just
that's
want
very
to
helpful.
I just want to like how the system works and what it has, and then I can usually figure it out there.
Yeah, I think sequence of operation is
Yeah,
really the most the thing that helps a
yeah,
lot.
that's what I mean. Like when I'm looking at like ice machines and stuff like that, like I need to know like how many evaporators it has, TXVs, solenoids. Like I can look at all that and I can kind of figure out what it's doing, or like what to look for,
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
and looking up parts, because that's something I got from my dad. Like that's what he does a lot on his stuff.
Like
So
looking
I
at the
started
parts
doing
diagram or what?
yeah, and I started
Yeah.
doing that on my side, and it's helped me a little bit. Um,
How
but
often do you try and call tech support? Because I mean, it used to be a big thing where I used to call them a lot, but it's so hard to get a hold of anyone these
oh, I
days.
know.
It's
Yeah,
horrible. Like,
I just had, I think it was the one before this one. I had another guy that I was talking to, and my whole thing with tech support is I used to hate calling tech support, because like I thought I knew everything. I thought I could do it. I thought I could figure it out. Like, and um, and then whenever I tried in the beginning to call tech support, I would get frustrated because I'm already having trouble with the unit. That's why I'm calling tech support, right?
yeah,
And then they sometimes they would answer and be like, "Did you check for power? Did you check this?" I'm like, "I already did all that. I don't need to know that. I need to know like something that
Yeah, but
I
they're
would not
also
have.
dealing with all the other technicians.
Yeah, and I'm like,
That
this is
that's
something that
quite
I
strange.
this is something strange that's going on. Like, help me get through it.
Yeah,
So like now, I kind of, I still, I got back to calling tech support now, but I usually call
yeah,
for um something with a part, or like to talk it out. Sometimes it's cool to, or it helps you to talk with somebody, like, and then you're like, oh, I didn't think of this, or I didn't think of that.
yeah. I know that's why I like talking, like having a few technicians that you know that you can
Oh yeah,
trust, and even if you just bounce off ideas, it usually gets you in a direction, which
and that's
which
why I
I
like,
think also helps.
even my dad does not do HVAC, but he
Yeah,
is creative and he does like electrical and gas work on his side.
yeah,
So sometimes I'm like just bouncing ideas off of him because he'll come up with something that I didn't even think about, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, and then I'll use that idea or whatever it is. But I also call tech support because I want to know if there's been any issues that other techs have called in with, right? Like these
okay.
random like problems that keep coming up. So like
I didn't even
recently,
think about that, but that makes sense. Yeah,
yeah, that, and I think I mentioned that in one of my videos. I'm like, I usually call. It's a good thing to call tech support, even just to get any information out of them. Because like I recently called one about a controller on that True that I was talking about. It was a
yeah.
electronic controller, and he's like, "Oh, we've been having issues with those." He's like,
Like,
that's
thanks for
obsolete."
telling me.
Yeah, that he's like, "That's obsolete. We're gonna send." It was under warranty, so he's like, "I'm gonna send you
Yeah.
the one that we replaced it with." He's like, "Don't worry about
Okay.
it." And then he kind of explained to me what it was doing and this and that, so I could understand it. And times like that is when I like to call tech support, when I'm like, okay, something weird is going on. You call them and they kind of tell you like, oh yeah, we've been having this issue or that issue, or some
Yeah,
other
I had somebody
solutions.
recently tell me, like a technician, they told me that they call tech support, like they write down questions on a specific unit, and then when they're driving, they call tech support
Oh,
while they're driving, and they ask tech support a specific question about a specific unit while they're driving, which I thought was
that's a good
smart
idea.
and kind of like not smart, because I think it helps me a lot to call tech support when I'm at the unit
Yeah,
and they can ask me questions and I can refer back to it. But I think in specific situations that is actually like a pretty cool idea to learn a specific thing about a specific unit, maybe.
that's a good idea to get more, or to learn more about a unit, right? Because like there are
Yeah,
some units that work a certain way and that's the way they work, right?
yeah,
So like, I mean, that's a good idea to call and just kind of like ask them like, why does it do this, or like maybe get, like, I do a lot of ice machines and sometimes it's not on the machine itself. I'm like, how long should it take to make ice, right? How long is a
yeah,
harvest? How long, like,
yeah.
random questions that I have. That's a
Also,
pretty
the
good
first
idea.
harvest always takes longer than the second harvest. So
Do you work on a lot of ice machines?
no,
No.
but I know that because
Yeah,
I have to wait for, like, whenever I clean ice machines, I have to wait for
mm,
two ice to drop, and then the
yes.
first ice usually takes the longest, and then it goes
Yes.
faster. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I work on like the Hoshizaki ones, the Manitowocks, the Scotsman, like
The one with the giant like motor that like is
and they all
the
make
tube shaped
ice. They
evaporator.
they
Yeah.
all make ice a different way. And I do fall it too, like the little nugget, the chewable ice. Like they all make ice a different way, and they all have their own way of doing things. So like that, yeah, that is something that I've learned because I when I work with like my brother or my dad or somebody that's not familiar with it, I'm like, just wait. I'm like, the first one always takes forever,
Yes.
and then after that you can time it and you can see like, oh, okay, it's in the range, it's in this.
It's between
So
7 and 10 minutes, whatever it takes. Yeah.
yeah, because usually it'll say on the machine, but if not, you can, I mean, you can look it up. But
Yeah, I had a problem because I got into a whole new thing. It's like a whole new beast for me. It's DOS units, like direct outside air systems
oh, okay, okay,
for commercial kitchens, and I've never really worked on those. But they have the captive air DOS systems, and they have like it's all VFD, it's all controls, it's all network computer connected, so you can call the tech support, and they have their screens, so they can actually, like, that's the newer units.
oh, okay,
But I
okay.
was working on one recently, and usually they have to send a captive air technician out specifically to the unit, but they sent me a checklist, and it was like a 3-page checklist to go through, and then we traced it down to the reheat valve was stuck open.
Yeah, those,
But
because I deal with I guess the basic version, the makeup airs. It's a captive air.
Yeah, they
condition.
have. Yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
think it's like the big brother of that.
yeah, I was like, I deal with the basic, smaller stuff, but like I remember because recently I had Jake from Knights. He sent us a picture in our group chat, and he's like, "What the hell is this?" Because it's like a makeup air with like two, like what you would see on residential, two like condensers on top of it, right? And that's the way it works because it has evaporators inside and everything, and that's a makeup air. I don't know if you've seen those, but he was like, "What
I
the?"
know. I only saw the captive air with a separate condenser. It's like on the side, and then you have the makeup air unit, and it has like kind of like some cooling, so you don't get
Yeah,
like the
I
super
think that's the
humid
one.
air. But
That's the one. Like it's a basically a split system, and you see the two I've seen
yeah,
them with
I've
two
worked on those. Yeah.
condensers. So he's like, "What the hell is this?" He's like, "It looks like someone put this together, or like whatever." And I'm like, "Dude," I was
That's
like,
what I
"Dude."
thought too. Yeah.
I was like, dude, calm down. I was like, I thought the same exact thing, 10 years ago when I first saw one, because I was like, did somebody just like put this crap together and like whatever?
That's what
But
it looks like, honestly. But
I know it's so weird, but like yeah, I've worked on those before, and that's a whole other thing. And the makeup, like makeup air. If you I don't know if you still work on like kitchen stuff, because like the refrigeration equipment also depends a lot on like the AC equipment, right? So
the
like,
ambient temperature,
is the makeup air working? Is the
yeah.
AC working? Is the exhaust working? Those are all things I have to keep in mind as well.
I mean, I basically mentioned it, but it's. I mean, my account is the HVAC game, and if you just
Why
go
is it
on my
called the
Instagram account,
HVAC game?
because I mean, it has two reasons. One is I love video games,
Okay.
and then second of all, I think about HVAC as like a video game where you have to like you start out not knowing anything, and then
Yeah.
because I like role playing games, so you have to like kind of beat the monsters. So you're like kind of like beating the level. You're getting more
Yeah.
familiar. You're like conquering one AC unit, and you're going to the next one, and you're learning. So you're leveling up. So I
Are
kind of
it
think about yeah.
Well, I forgot I had a question like so that's going to be a hobby of yours. Do you have a lot of hobbies? Like how do you unwind after work?
I used to hang out a lot with my friends, but they're all in Florida now. So I mean, I like being outside, and I like video games, which is kind of like opposite ends, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say.
It's totally opposite. But if I'm by myself, I like playing video games. If I'm with my friends, I like to go outside, and I like beach volleyball. I like swimming, and like that's what I do in Florida. But then when
Hmm.
I'm in Germany, I love actually totally opposite snowboarding. I love snowboarding.
Okay.
So, I have I have
I've always been intrigued by snowboarding. I actually used to play video games of snowboarding, but
oh really okay.
we never get snow, so we don't have that
I
here.
know. I know. I've met people that have never seen snow, and it like blows my mind. My wife actually,
Somebody
she never saw snow, and I took her to Germany just to experience
mm,
snow.
is she from Florida? Like that's where she's
She's
from? Oh no, you said
no,
she's
she's
from
Mexican.
Texas.
No,
Oh,
she's Mexican, but her family moved. A lot of her family moved here to Austin.
oh, okay.
Um, but yeah, we met in Florida. So she was working there too.
Oh, okay, you met her there, but she's okay.
Yeah,
Because like
exactly.
I have family from Mexico too, so I understand that. Yeah, like here, because somebody asked me about it recently. I was like, we get like snow once a decade, like once every 10 years. It's
You're
very
lucky. Yeah,
rare, and then like it melts by the time the sun comes out. So
yeah.
it's not real.
But so that's why I named it the HVAC game because I like gaming, and I also think like it's kind of HVAC is challenging, but it's also very rewarding when you learn and when you overcome the struggles. So I kind of, for me in my mind, I kind of like made a similarity between the two, um, and also I like making it fun. So I thought make HVAC fun, and gaming is fun. So that's kind of why I chose that name. Um, and yeah, so if you want to look on my Instagram account, I have my link there. But otherwise, if you just go on the Skool Skool website and you just look for the HVAC game, you can find it there. But yeah, I mean, I kind of went over it because
Is
we
it,
have the
but
classroom. Yeah,
is it I'm sorry, is there like something I have to pay for or anything like that? Like how does that
yeah,
work?
I made it free for a long time, for a while, but it actually costs me money to have the community.
Yeah.
Um, So right now I have it at $7 a month which I want to
Okay.
try and keep it very cheap. So to make it accessible to people, because I want to make it for newer technicians,
Yeah, it's gonna
but
be
I
like a lot of
also,
kids and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I was trying to keep it free, but it's kind of like I'm investing so much time, and then I also have to pay for the platform itself. So then I was like, some kind of compensation I think is fair. You get a moderated space, you get like
Hmm. Like
actually like
something
courses.
professional that you care about, because like even what I do doing this, like it's fun, but it costs money. All the stuff that I
I,
use.
yeah, you have equipment, you have time, you have editing, you have the software, you have
Yeah.
there's so much stuff that people don't think about. But anyway, so that's what I'm doing, and that's what I like. And right now it's very basic, but I'm building out the courses. Like every week I add like 2 to 3 videos,
Okay.
so it'll just keep growing. And basically my layout is I have like
Are you
system
trying?
components.
I'm
What?
sorry. Are you
Yeah.
trying to show like the videos that you're talking about? Is that stuff that you show like from your work or stuff that you see in the field?
No, I'm showing in the field. Like I'm
Okay.
recording when I'm in the field, but I kind of separated it out between system components, troubleshooting, and maintenance. And then I go like basically one-on-one course, 101 courses, which is like
Mm,
basically the foundation. And then I want to do like 201 and 301 and go into
okay.
more advanced stuff. And basically, the beginning level is all done. And then what people are most interested in is troubleshooting and electrical diagrams. That's reading electrical diagrams and troubleshooting is really what everyone is interested in. So I want to do more on that and then build it out and do actually like a service call where I come on site and I'm like, okay, this is the call. This is
Okay.
what I see. This is how I test. This is what I found. This is how we handle it. And then like walk people through the actual troubleshooting process. And then if they have questions, then they can go into the community and ask questions specifically to their situation or whatever. So
Oh man, that's cool. Because I've contemplated trying to figure out how to do something like that. You're doing that because it sounds like it's a good it
well,
sounds like
come join me. We can do it together.
it sounds like you organized it really well, because it's well thought out. Because yeah, just from my experience, like when I started and this and that, like, and like you said, troubleshooting and electrical, that's kind of like what you need to know, because I struggled a lot with my electrical side. My dad was an electrician. I had to kind of lean on him a little bit to get
Mhm.
more like, why does it do this or why does it do that, like how power worked and all that. Like that was a real weak point for me. And I know
Like
people.
why does it blow a fuse but it's
Yeah.
not shorted? Like when you have the coils that you still get resistance but it's not quite
and
enough, so
then
it still trips the fuse.
and then the whole, yeah, resistance and all that stuff, and then the whole like phases. I didn't understand that for a
Oh,
while,
yeah.
when they get reversed, and like a lot of things I found out in the field how that worked, how that ran that compressor backwards, or whatever it was. I learned all that in the field, but it'd be nice to know like something in a training form, like, okay, this is this or this is that. um
Yeah.
because really, after you learn your basics, like even the stuff that I learned, and then reading the schematic, like all the simple stuff, the components, all that, like if you get a good grasp on it, it's going to be hard, but you can get out in the field and really, if you take your time and just slow down, you can figure out almost anything.
Yeah, if you really understand the basics, like how the controls work and everything, I think you can basically figure out anything if you really understand the basics. So,
Yeah, the experience is for all that like random hard stuff that comes up. Like that's and then like
yeah.
actually being out there, because on the last episode, the guy was trying to hire somebody. He's like, how do you do in direct sunlight? And he's like, oh, I'm fine. I can work in heat and this and that. And then like the kid goes out there and is dying on the roof because like of the Texas, or no, he's in California, the heat that they get, the sun. So like,
I mean, that's also rough in California. It's like a desert, huh? I
yeah,
mean, it depends
yeah,
where you are, but
he is in the desert area. I forgot what area he's in, but he specifically said that. So like I was saying, like the experience is like having all those like oh crap moments, and then like dealing with like the harsh conditions.
yeah, that's true. I mean, you get used to everything. I think. I mean, you can like for me, it's a lot of water, a lot of
Oh
electrolytes, and
yeah.
then taking breaks in between. But I think you can get used to anything. You just need to figure out how to do it. And That's the
Take
experience.
take breaks. Keep yourself shaded with a big hat or umbrella, whatever it is. Wear
Big
gloves. You
head,
know,
yeah.
take care of yourself.
Also, what I learned that I didn't know is long sleeves and long pants, because I think a lot of people think when you're out in the heat and the sun, short sleeve and shorts is better. But
Yeah.
actually, the long sleeve, I learned that from some Mexicans I work with. They're like, "Bro, why are you wearing a short sleeve shirt? You're stupid." I'm like, "What do you mean? It's colder." And they're like, "No, because your sweat stays with you, and that helps you cool down your body, and you lose less sweat, and you actually get colder." So that's things you learn, but you might not know,
Yeah.
you know,
I
when you're just starting
started.
out. So,
I started wearing like, well, I have arm sleeves that I put on, um, that I
yeah,
feel are
that's good.
more comfortable for me. But like, I recently got us long sleeve uniforms. They're made out of
That's nice.
polyester, but like they help when I'm out there. Like for
Yeah,
a full day on the rooftop, I'll wear those.
yeah.
It feels horrible sometimes because like it is, especially going up and down, or like I just hate long sleeves. So I don't feel very comfortable in it, but
Yeah,
it keeps the sun off of you. That's my main thing. Like, keep the sun off of you. I've known guys to get like, I mean, you got to take care of yourself. There's a guy that I talked to that had like skin cancer or something. They caught it, but it's just because he works outside so much. Getting stuff like that, taking care of your body, that's important too.
yeah,
All right, man. I appreciate you for coming on.
yeah. Thank you
It
for
was
having me. It's
it was
awesome.
a
It was fun.
blast. Good to get to know you. Love what you're doing. I want to see or see what happens with the school that you have going on, the community, all that stuff. But I appreciate you.
Yeah, you too. Okay,
All
bye,
right,
man.
everybody watching and listening. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys.